Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Lovebird Lane podcast. Now, if you've been a subscriber for a little while, you will realise that we were previously the My Muddlings podcast. For 2019, I have kind of changed that. Well, I did kind of start in Vlogmas, but I have started for 2019 that I am going to change the name of the podcast to be more in line with my username on Ravelry and also my shop. So welcome to the first episode, and I've just decided, it was kind of a spur of the moment thing. I was going to continue the episode numbering, but I have actually decided to restart. Why not? So anyway, I am Julianne. Welcome to my podcast, and if you are a new viewer, welcome. Thank you so much for trying me out. I'm really super glad to have you. And if you're a returning viewer, as always, thank you very much for coming back and spending some time with me. I really do appreciate you, taking the time to listen to me blather on to you. So here I am. It is the 3rd of January 2019, and I've just noticed that my glasses are reflecting, so hopefully that isn't too annoying. At least I can see what I'm doing with my glasses on. And obviously I checked, and I haven't done this since the 3rd of November, so like, where did that time go? I have no idea. And anyway, so I'm going to make a promise right now. I'm going to make a commitment. I am going to commit to doing this podcast every single week. So you can expect an episode every Friday, and I'm not going to skip out on that because I have to make a commitment. I enjoy doing this. I love interacting with all of you guys, and I really just need to make that commitment to take the time and have the plan to do this every Thursday. I record, I edit, and then on Fridays it should be up for you guys. So where should I start? I don't really know. First of all, I should probably say that this podcast will probably be split into two, because as I haven't actually podcasted for 2 whole months now, I do have a lot to talk about. So I'm thinking I might break it up and do like a finished objects section, and then do the second part can be my works in progress and everything that's happened in the meantime since you have seen me. So I seem to be using my hands a lot today, but whatever. I do that usually in real life. I use my hands a lot. So if you see them springing up all the time, then, welcome to Julianne outside the podcast. And yeah, so I guess I can get on with it. I do have, I did print out what I need to talk about, and I also just want to make a note that I have changed the Ravelry group name, of course, to Lovebird Lane Podcast, and from now on I will be putting the show notes down in the description box. So if you want to find links to anything that I talk about in the podcast, they are just down below. Just go and check them out. And while we're looking down below, remember, if you haven't yet already, to subscribe and to like this video, which is just down here on the left-hand side or right-hand side, your side. So yeah, if you would like to see more of my podcast, please do subscribe, and remember, I have made the commitment and you'll get a new one of these every Friday. So without further ado, let's get on with what I have finished. First up is an item that I'm sure you have already seen. I'm pretty sure I spoke about it back in November when I last podcasted. And this is my Throwback cardigan by Andrea Mowry. And you will probably notice while I'm showing this to you that there is quite a few pills and things on the underarms, and that's because I finished this in time to wear it quite a bit before it got too hot too. And speaking of hot, if I start to sweat really badly, it is going to be 41 degrees today, and I'm in my craft room with no fan, no air conditioner, nothing. So if I start to sweat or glow, as ladies do, please excuse that. But yeah, this is my Throwback cardigan, and I love this so much. Now, if you recall, when I was talking about it in the last podcast, I actually have used these colours up here in my yoke. I have actually used the same colours that Kristin from Wool and Vine used on hers. The only difference between mine and hers is she had cobblestone heather for the body, and what was this one? Marble heather, I think. I can't actually remember what it was. But check the link down in the description and you can go to my project page on Ravelry. So yeah, the contrast colours that I have here, the white is just called Cloud. This is Knit Picks Wool of the Andes. And this pink here, this pinky purple, is Blossom Heather. And then just Coal, I believe, is the colour for the black. And I really enjoyed knitting this. It was a lot of fun, and like I said, it fits me really well. Like, if this is like cardigan goals. If I could have all of my cardigans fit me the way this one does, I would be super, super happy. So probably the only thing that I did do differently, if I recall, is I added some short rows to the back of this, just to make the back just that little bit longer on the back. You probably can't really see it. You can kind of just see somewhere around here. You can just see where it kind of slopes down for those short rows. And the cool thing with Andrea Mowry patterns, and even Caitlin Hunter patterns, she does it as well, I have noticed, that they include short rows in the back collar. You can see there that it's a little bit deeper just in the middle, so that it comes up properly at the back of your neck when you wear it. So I really, like I said, I really, really love this. It was such a great pattern. I would definitely recommend it to everybody. And I'm really, really happy that I stole Kristin's colours because it is beautiful. My Blossom Heather doesn't look quite as mauvey and purple as hers does. Mine's a little bit more red. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this one. And the colour work, I'll give you a close-up of those floats in there as well. And I think I did pretty well. This has been blocked, and yeah, I think I did pretty well getting it fairly even. I'm not a hugely experienced colour work knitter, but yeah, I think I did okay, so... And I love it anyway, regardless. And even when I wear it, obviously it will stretch a little bit, just and it evens out those stitches. So it looks a little bit better on than it does off. But yeah, I really loved this. It was really, really lovely to knit. And I might even knit this one again because, like I said, I love the fit of this. And, you know, I might even, yeah, re-knit it with some different colours. So that is my throwback cardigan. The next 3 projects that I have to talk about, because these are all finished objects, bear in mind, were presents, and they've actually been gifted to the recipient, and that was my dear friend Emma, who I speak about a little bit on this podcast, a little bit, a lot, I don't know, and she is currently in the US. She is in Denver, Colorado, and she posted a photo. She has a group on Facebook that she's added all of her friends to so that we can see all of her adventures over in the US, and she posted a video the other day and it was minus 10 degrees, and I'm not sure, I'm assuming that is probably Celsius, I'm not sure, but she did say it was minus 10 degrees and it was snowing, so it was beautiful to see. But I made her some gifts to take with her for the cold. So of course, being a knitter and my best friend, I knit her socks. I knit her 2 pairs of socks, and all I can really do is show you like one picture of each of them because that's all I have. She is hopefully wearing them right now. So the first pair that I did was, I showed these on the last podcast, I believe, and they were the BFF socks. So if you remember, I dyed 2 very special one-of-a-kind skeins of an 8-stripe self-striping yarn. It may even be behind me here. Yes, it is. So this is what I dyed, and I dyed 2 skeins because when I dye my self-striping, I warp 2 skeins at a time, so I will dye 2 skeins at a time. So this is my skein. Emma's leftovers are over in there somewhere, but yeah, I knit her a pair of socks out of this 8-striper. So I'll just pop this back. And they turned out really, really well. I was a little bit, what's the word? Disappointed? No, not disappointed, but just I did rethink things after I finished them, that Often I find, I don't know if you guys are the same, but when I knit self-striping socks, because I usually knit from the top down, and because of the variable length of everybody's feet, I mean nobody's feet are identical, apart from Simon's and I apparently, we kind of have pretty similar feet. Yeah, apart from, you know, Simon and I, we all have different sized feet, and often I need to finish my socks, my self-striping socks, in between, like in the middle of a stripe when I get to the toe, and I kind of, it's beginning to bother me because, I mean, the thing is you can, if you knit toe up, you can start at the beginning of a stripe and then you can end at the end of a stripe, because the leg can pretty much be as long as you like. So if you have to do a couple of extra rounds on the leg just to get that stripe complete, who really cares? It's not a big deal. I mean, I quite like long socks anyway. So the first pair, these BFF socks, I actually used my Lovebird Lane vanilla sock pattern, which you can find on Ravelry. It's for free. It just basically tells you how I knit my socks. It's not necessarily the be-all end-all of vanilla sock patterns, but it is how I do mine. So if you are curious, you can go and download that for free. So yeah, that's what I used to do Emma's first pair, and luckily the stripes are quite narrow because obviously, you know, usually the more stripes you add to your warp, depending how long your warp is, your stripes will get narrower. And so I think they were only about 5 stripes, 5 rounds high, whereas my normal 4 stripe is about 6 to 7. So it's just that little bit shallower. And I actually managed to get the full stripe complete before I started the toe on those socks. So that was okay. That actually worked out okay. But the second pair that I did for her, I didn't use my top-down method that I usually do. I called them the Festive socks because they were actually made from leftovers of my Festive self-striping socks that I did last year. So Emma and I even have each a pair of socks out of the one skein of yarn. So those ones I actually started toe up. So I think, I can't remember what the cast on is, but it's the one where you put, like, you kind of do the loops over the 2 needles and then you just increase from there. And yeah, so that's how I did that second pair. And obviously I started the striping at the beginning of a stripe and then I finished the leg at the end of a stripe. And it was so, it was really, really good. I actually ended up with the ball that was left, because like I said, they were leftovers. They actually, it actually finished on an even number of stripes. So I didn't end up with a stripe missing from either of them. So that was really good. And I completely used up all of those scraps for, used a contrast, matching a coordinating skein for the toes, cuffs and heels. And yeah, so those turned out really, really good. And she was super, super chuffed with her socks. And the other gift that I did for her was something that she actually asked me to make for her a very long time ago, but that was before we really got close, and she was going to pay me for the yarn, and then I was going to knit her a pussy hat. I knit myself a pussy hat. Another friend called Emma paid me for the yarn and I knit her a pussy hat, and Emma requested one as well, and she wasn't able to pay me for the yarn at the time, and so I just kept it in my stash, and I used my own yarn. I used my Nyasa base, and it was in the colourway Get Your Hands Off My Pussy, which is a really, really bright pink. And I think I do have the leftovers here somewhere. I'll pop a close-up in of that later. And yeah, so I knit her pussy hat, and yeah, so I think she was pretty happy. We gave them all to her on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. When did we see them? I can't even remember now. But her and another friend of ours came round to watch some unconventional Christmas movies, and we gave them both presents, and Emma's presents with her knitwear. So yeah, I think she enjoyed them. I hope that they're keeping her warm over in the US. And yeah, they were the next 3 things that I have finished. These next two items, yes, another two, are the same pattern, and they got a lot of love on Instagram, including from the designer herself, Ms. Kristin Lehrer, who is Wool and Vine. You probably know. She came out with a new hat pattern called the Sparkling Cider hat pattern. And I just thought it was beautiful. And she had, I think it was a Black Friday sale where it was 20% off or something, and I nabbed it straight away because I think that was the day that it actually launched. And I had been looking for the pattern, and I kept checking back to the pattern page to see if it was out yet, but it was actually, Black Friday, I think, when it came out. So I have knit two of them, as I think I just said, and they were both knit out of leftovers from my Plumity shawl, so I may have spoken about that. I know it definitely was on a podcast. I can't remember which one it was. I don't know whether it was the last one or the one before. But yeah, I made them out of leftovers, which is amazing. And because this pattern has my new favourite thing in it, which is to hold a strand of mohair along with your regular strand of yarn. So I will show you the first one because I love it. Oh. So this was the colour that I used as my contrast colour on my Plumity shawl, and I don't know if you can see this far away. I will put some close-ups in, but it's such a lovely halo, and mohair just makes everything feel super, super soft. And I just love this so much. The only downside, I think, of this hat was the beads that I had were, they're copper-coloured beads to match this is my colourway called Dusty Mauve. It's actually more of a rose gold, but I already have a colourway called rose gold, so unless I rename that one, this one is Dusty Mauve for now, because it looks like it's reading quite copper on the screen. I could actually probably call this one Copper. Maybe I'll do that. I'll change the name to Copper. And I've used copper beads on this, but the beads are basically plain clear, like transparent glass with like a metallic copper. There's that word. Metallic copper coating on them. And as I was knitting it, some of them were kind of, the coating was rubbing off, and after I washed it, even more rubbed off. So that's probably the only downside of this one. However, the ones that are just the transparent glass, they kind of do a magnification kind of thing, and the light kind of hits them and kind of, you know, expands, and they kind of glitter anyway. So yeah, I don't mind so much. So I don't think I said, this year I will actually be having mohair in the shop. I actually dyed some up yesterday for my dye day. I don't have any to show you just yet. I'll talk about shop things in probably the second part, or at least at the end of this one. Yeah, I'm going to have mohair, so that's my fluff butt base. Because originally I did get this from Nicole of Cola Girl. She sold me some just some bare skeins, and that was what I used for my Plumity shawl. But she and I both get our yarn from the same place, I believe. So I've just renamed this base on my project page as my own. Yeah, so I've called it Fluff Butt. And the other main yarn in this is, or both of these, is my glitzy base. So it's a gold stellina base. And I don't know if you can really see any of the glitter happening in there. I would like to put this on, but I'm very hot and sweaty and I've got makeup and I don't really want to get it on my hat. I have put up a couple of pictures. Oh, go on. No, I've just decided to do it. So there we go. The only changes that I made to this pattern is I added one extra repeat from what the pattern says. So I think the pattern says to do 3, and I added a 4th. So it's just a little bit slouchier. I was flirting with doing 4 repeats on my second hat, but I decided not to in the end. I just did it exactly the same as this. So I'm going to take this off because I'm quite warm. So that was my first one. And the second one is one that I dyed, because my Plumity shawl, if you recall, was cream, so just bare yarn with that dusty mauve or copper contrast. So I basically took my 2 cream leftovers, undyed leftovers, and I speckled them. So I wanted to make something reminiscent of Kristin's sparkling cider colourway. It's not quite the same, but it's similar, and I used some beads that I had in my stash, and they are kind of that sort of oil wash kind of look, where it kind of has greeny bits, purpley bits, blue bits. So yeah, and I love this hat, and Kristin actually asked to use a photo of this hat on her project page, which was so exciting. But I love this pattern. Like I said, I've knit 2, so I'm quite enamored with it, and I would definitely recommend it. It's super quick to knit. I knit both of these, I think, in 2 days, 2 days each, including all the beading. So yeah, I definitely recommend it, and I love these hats so much. After a little bit of a lengthy pause there, I had to charge my camera battery, so yay! But at least it let me have a chance to have some food. So I am fed now, I am feeling a little bit better. It is still very warm in this room, but yes, I had to go and charge my camera battery, because I forgot to do it yesterday, even though I thought of it. Anyway, I'm still on finished objects. My next finished object is a pair of mitts, and these have been on the hook because these are a crochet since March year before. So now that we're 2019, it was March 2017 when I started these. So these are a pair of dragon, they're called Dragon Tears Fingerless mitts, and they're the ones that have the, I'll do a close-up later because you won't see anything if I do that because I don't have autofocus. They're the ones that have the scales on the top, and I'll just pop one of them on so that you can see what it looks like. Unfortunately, my yarns, because I had to use 2 separate balls of yarn, did not quite match, but you can see there, we've got the scales at the top, which actually creates a really thick, warm layer. And this yarn has got, I believe it was a wool mohair acrylic blend. I got it from Spotlight. And yeah, these are really, really warm. I already want to take this off. It's literally been on for like 2 seconds. But yeah, like I said, these have been on the hook for a really, really long time. I had one of them done, and I had, I think, just to the thumb hole on the second done. So I actually gave myself a goal. I think it was probably Boxing Day, I think I decided that I wanted to finish some of my whips before the end of the year. So I actually picked 3, and that's the 3 that I'm going to talk about now. These are the first ones, and because I had gotten to the point, this was the second one, because I had gotten to the thumb hole, all I had to do was the arm, which is the easy part because it's literally just like shells all the way around and a little bit of a slip stitch picot bind off. So I just did it. I just got it done, and I was able to finally get these finished. I believe these will be going in my shop. I don't know when I will list them because, I mean, in Australia at least, we don't need any knitwear right now. So, and I know I can't imagine people from overseas would be buying knitwear from an Australian, but anyway. But yes, these will eventually be going up in my shop. And yeah, I'm really happy with them, and I'm really glad that they are finished. And the next finished object is probably the elephant, or one of the 2 elephants in the room, and that is my Flax light sweater, which is on my dress form here. I can't actually remember what I called her. I did give her an Edith, I believe it was. I have it here on Edith, and this was knit out of, I actually got sent the wrong yarn base back last year when I was doing my pre-orders for the Tits Out collective. I got sent the wrong yarn base in my parcel, and one of the yarn bases was this one here, which I named Yakety Yak because it was a yak, silk and merino blend. I believe it was a 60-20-20, so 60 merino and 20 of the other 2. And I think I was talking to Charmaine of Yarnarama. She has a knitting supply shop, so you can get yarn and needles and everything. If you haven't heard from her, she's local to me. And I believe I was talking to her, or I put it on Instagram, and she replied, and she said that she had a sweater knit from that particular blend, and it was really lovely. So I decided to take 4 skeins out of my 10 skein pack and knit myself a Flax Light, which we have here. And I really loved knitting this until I got to the body. So I pretty much, I knit the yoke and then knit the sleeves, and then, because I've been tending to knit sleeves before the body a lot on a lot of my projects lately, and yes, so I did the sleeves before I did the body, and I got down to, I think it was about 10 inches down from the underarm, and I needed to knit, I think it was around 16.5 inches, so I got to about 10, and I just completely lost steam on it. And when you're just going round and round and round and round, I mean, the sleeves I find actually more interesting than a straight down body, because at least the sleeves you knit to a certain point and then you've got decreases, so you're constantly counting your rows to make sure you get your decreases in, whereas the body on this is literally just a tube straight down. So yeah, I kind of got a little bit burned out on it, but then as I said before, I made a goal for myself. Marion is squawking her head off. I'm just going to push the door shut. Yeah, as part of my goal to finish 3 things that I'd selected by New Year's, this was one of them. So I got it done. And I'm really, really glad I did, because I love this pattern. I do have one already. I think I probably wore it in the podcast at some stage. I didn't have it for a long time because I got a hole in it and I had to darn the hole. But I got that done before the end of winter 2017, so sorry, 2018, so I could actually wear it. And I've always had, ever since I knit it, I think I actually finished it in 2017, the original sweater, and ever since I finished it, I've always promised myself that I would knit more, because I really love the fit, I love the shape, everything about the Flax Light. So yeah, so I finally knit another one, and I'm really excited to wear it. I haven't worn it as yet, because obviously, like I said, it got finished just before New Year's, and here in Australia it's been quite warm, so yeah, I've not had a chance to wear it. I haven't even tried it on, but I'm hoping it should fit pretty much like my other one did, because I used the same needle size, although this yarn is a little bit finer. But I don't think it's going to make much difference, honestly. Or at least I hope it's not going to make much difference. So yeah, I'm really, really happy with it. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, so if you want a nice, simple sweater, definitely check this one out. The only difference, the only mods I made on this was that I did a tubular cast on and tubular bind off. So my neck was done with a tubular cast on, and then both wrists and the bottom of the sweater were done with a tubular bind off. And the reason for that was because I actually did the cuffs and hem of my original one. I bound them off with a tubular cast on. But I did a regular long tail cast on. Did I say bind off? I meant bind off if I didn't say that. But this time I went tubular all round. So, and that's pretty much just because I like the finish of it. I think on heavier weight garments like my Throwback, which is on the floor at the moment, I don't mind just a regular bind off and cast on the thicker fabrics, but I think especially because this was such what do you call it, a luxury fabric, because it's got the silk and the yak in there, I thought the additional finishing of the tubular edges would just really set that off and keep it, you know, give it a really good quality finish. So I'm really, really happy with it. I thought the yarn did knit up a little irregularly when it was still on the needles, but since I gave it a block and a dry, it's all evened out and it looks absolutely gorgeous. The fabric is gorgeous. You can see that it's really heathered. I can actually see that on my screen here. It's a lovely, lovely heathered look, and if you've been following me for a while, you know that I like heathered. So yeah, I'm really, really happy with that. And I think we're up to the last finished object, and that is the other elephant in the room. It's what I'm wearing. So I'm not going to stand up because I'm a little bit fat for this, I shall say. And that's probably putting it as nicely as possible. But this is the Amma granny square top, and it is patterned by Maria Valles, and I have had this on the hook because obviously clearly it's crochet again. I've had this on the hook for 2 years and 2 months by the time it was finished, so I actually started this back in September 2016. So you can, as you can imagine, I'm super glad to have it off the needles. I will hopefully put in a picture for you of it on the hanger so that you can see it. But because it is done as a square, so it's you know, crocheted as a square, because I'm white, it has made it short. So it sits on top of, I mean, it's not a bad length, but because my bottom side is a little bit bigger than my top side, it's kind of rolling at the split because it has side splits, so it's kind of rolling a little bit, but so I'm not going to stand up. But I really enjoyed the finishing on this. It was really, really interesting to go from 2 squares, you know, crocheted squares, to having a finished top, and that basically is just achieved by putting shoulders in, putting sides in, and then crocheting around the holes. And it was really simple once I finished it. I think the biggest hurdle to me finishing it was actually finishing the second square, because I think, if I remember rightly, I had to do 28 rounds. So obviously 28 rounds just keeps getting bigger and bigger, you know, each round. So yeah, I had to do 28 rounds, and I think I flagged out around 21 rounds, I think, on the second square. So I was so close, and that's what made me think, just get it done, like just get it done, get it out. And I'm really, really pleased that I did. I can't wait until I lose a bit of weight so that I can wear it properly. All right, and that's all my finished objects. So that is all of that done for now. So I guess I will leave it there for this section of the podcast, and then I will talk about my works in progress and other things that have been going on in the next one. So thank you very much for watching. I will see you tomorrow with the next episode, and have a good one. Bye.